This cast iron mystery arrived with a mission: shredding. It's heavy, built like a miniature grater but with a solid surface and a sharp, adjustable blade beneath a wide trough. Take a good look. What do you think this was for? Most people have no idea. It looks like it could be for woodworking or perhaps some obscure agricultural task. Yet, this humble, hefty implement once held a place of honor in countless American kitchens. It's a ghost of a bygone era, a relic from a time when ingenuity and elbow grease transformed raw ingredients into comforting meals. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on 6 such forgotten gadgets, the strange kitchen tools your great-grandma swore by, each with its own story of clever design and eventual obsolescence. Let's start our countdown at number 6. Number 6. The kraut cutter. This strange contraption I just described, with its multiple blades and long trough, is actually a kraut cutter. Imagine an autumn day in a bustling farmhouse kitchen. The air is crisp, and the scent of earth still clings to the cabbages piled high on the counter. German immigrants, in particular, brought with them a deep love for fermented foods, and sauerkraut was a staple, a vital source of vitamin C through long, harsh winters. To make kraut, you needed to thinly slice an enormous amount of cabbage. A simple knife would take all day, and the slices would be uneven. The kraut cutter, however, was a marvel of efficiency. You'd set it over a large wooden crock, often one that held 10 gallons or more. A firm head of cabbage would be pushed back and forth along the trough, guided by the sturdy wooden pusher, its multi-blades shaving off uniform, paper-thin ribbons of cabbage with remarkable speed. One push, and several slices would fall directly into the crock below. A strong farm wife could process 50 pounds of cabbage in an afternoon, layering it with salt, pounding it down to release its juices, and then leaving it to ferment. This wasn't just a gadget. It was a cornerstone of winter survival and flavor. As refrigeration and industrially canned goods became more common, the need for preserving vast quantities of fresh produce at home dwindled, and the kraut cutter, once an indispensable tool, slowly vanished from American kitchens. Moving on to our next mystery tool. Number 5. The cherry pitter. Next, consider a smaller, more delicate tool, often made of tin or cast iron. It typically has a spring-loaded plunger and a small concave dish at one end, sometimes with a little trough leading away from it. It looks almost surgical, or perhaps like a very specific kind of hole punch. What could this be for? This elegant little device is a cherry pitter. Picture a hot summer afternoon, sunlight streaming through a kitchen window, illuminating baskets overflowing with ripe, dark red cherries, freshly picked from the orchard. Cherry pies, preserves, and jellies were summer traditions, but pitting hundreds of tiny fruits by hand was a sticky, messy, and tedious task. The cherry pitter made this job manageable. You'd place a single cherry in the small depression, stem removed. With a gentle squeeze or press of the plunger, a metal rod would shoot through the cherry, neatly ejecting the pit into a collection bowl or trough, leaving the fruit mostly intact. Some models could even pit multiple cherries at once, lining them up in a row. It transformed a chore into an almost meditative rhythm. Pop, 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 as pits piled up and perfectly pitted cherries were ready for baking. The precise mechanism prevented bruising and tearing, ensuring a beautiful finished product. Its decline came not from lack of usefulness, but from the shift away from extensive home canning and baking, as commercially prepared fruit fillings and frozen cherries became readily available, stripping the home kitchen of yet another specialized task. The ingenuity of these old tools is truly something to behold. Let's uncover another one. Number 4. The egg separator. Now, imagine a small, often ceramic or metal bowl-like dish with a little lip or slit on one side. It fits over the rim of another bowl. It looks almost like a miniature colander, but with very specific, tiny openings. It's too small for vegetables, too large for spices. What in the world was this curious kitchen item used for? This is an egg separator, a seemingly simple but incredibly useful tool for bakers of yore. Think of a busy kitchen, perhaps preparing for a grand holiday feast or a wedding cake, where precise baking was paramount. Many classic recipes, meringues, soufflés, certain delicate cakes, required egg whites separated perfectly from their yolks. A single drop of yolk in the whites could ruin a meringue, preventing it from whipping up into stiff, glossy peaks. Before these tools, separating eggs was a careful dance between halves of a cracked shell or a slow trickle through fingers, often resulting in messy accidents or compromised whites. The egg separator streamlined this. You'd crack an egg directly into the separator. The dense yolk would sit neatly in the depression, while the thinner, more liquid egg white would drain through the narrow slits or around the lip into the bowl below, leaving a perfectly intact yolk behind. It was a simple, elegant solution to a common culinary challenge. While many home cooks today still use the shell-to-shell method or even just their clean hands, the dedicated egg separator was a testament to the era's focus on precision and efficiency in the kitchen. Its quiet retirement came as culinary trends shifted and baking became less of a daily necessity for many, and as plastic versions offered a cheaper, though less charming, alternative. Did your grandmother have one of these in her shed? Tell me below. Moving right along to number 3, we have a tool that looks like it belongs in a jeweler's box. Number 3, the sugar nippers. For our third forgotten gadget, visualize a pair of small, sturdy tongs, usually made of steel, with very sharp, slightly curved blades at the jaws. They're not like scissors, and not quite like pliers. They look like they're designed for cutting something hard and crystalline. What delicate, yet robust task could these have performed? These are sugar nippers, a charming remnant of a time when sugar was a luxury, a precious commodity, and often sold in forms very different from the granulated crystals we know today. Picture an upscale Victorian parlor, perhaps after a fine dinner. The hostess brings out a sugar loaf, a conical, dense block of refined sugar, sometimes weighing several pounds. This was how sugar was typically purchased before the widespread availability of smaller, pre-processed cubes or granulated sugar in bags. The sugar nippers were essential for breaking off manageable pieces from this formidable loaf. The sharp, strong blades could bite into the hard sugar, nipping off smaller chunks or lumps to be served with tea or coffee. It required a degree of precision and strength, ensuring that each guest received a roughly equivalent portion. Some nippers were quite ornate, reflecting the status of sugar itself. The sound of the nippers snapping through the loaf was a familiar, almost ceremonial sound in wealthy homes. The advent of readily available, factory-produced sugar cubes and pourable granulated sugar rendered these nippers obsolete almost overnight. They stand as a tangible link to a different economy, a different approach to culinary staples. The march of progress truly reshapes our world, doesn't it? Let's unearth another relic. Number 2, the butter mold. For our penultimate tool, imagine a beautifully carved wooden object, usually cylindrical or rectangular, with a plunger or 2 hinged halves. Inside, there's a delicate, often intricate carving, a cow, a sheaf of wheat, a flower, or a geometric pattern. It looks like it could be a fancy stamp, but what would you stamp in the kitchen? This is a butter mold, a delightful piece of culinary artistry. Go back to a time when butter wasn't just pulled from a plastic tub in the fridge. For many farm families, making butter was a regular chore, often twice a week, from the cream skimmed off their own cow's milk. Once churned, the butter would be hand-paddled to remove excess buttermilk and then pressed into these molds. The butter mold served 2 purposes: to form the soft butter into a convenient block or stick, and to impart a beautiful, distinctive pattern that signified its freshness, its origin, or simply added a touch of elegance to the table. A family might have a unique mold design, a subtle brand mark before brands were a thing. A block of butter, perhaps a pound, would be pressed firmly into the mold, sometimes with a plunger to ensure the design was crisp. When inverted or opened, a perfectly shaped, intricately patterned block of golden butter would emerge, ready for storage in a cool cellar or presentation at the dinner table. It was an act of pride, turning a humble dairy product into a small work of art. With the rise of commercial creameries and mass-produced, pre-packaged butter, the individual butter mold became a charming antique, a whisper of self-sufficiency and personalized craftsmanship lost to industrial efficiency. And now, for our final, most ingenious, and perhaps most complex forgotten kitchen gadget. Number 1, the apple peeler, corer, slicer. Finally, picture a contraption often made of cast iron, sometimes with wooden handles, that clamps onto a table. It has a series of cranks, gears, and sharp metal appendages, a rotating arm with a sharp blade, a a circular coring device, and sometimes another blade that spirals around a central rod. It looks like a miniature Rube Goldberg machine designed for a very specific fruit. What intricate task could this remarkable machine perform? This is the ultimate multitasker of the antique kitchen, the apple peeler, corer, and slicer. Imagine autumn again, but this time with bushels of apples arriving from the orchard, ready for pies, sauces, dried apple rings, and cider. The sheer volume of apples needing processing was immense, and doing it all by hand, peeling, then coring, then slicing, was an arduous, time-consuming endeavor. This clever machine revolutionized apple preparation. You'd spear an apple onto the three-pronged fork. With a turn of the crank, the apple would rotate. First, a sharp, curved blade, precisely calibrated by a spring mechanism, would follow the contours of the apple, peeling off the skin in one continuous curl. As the apple continued to rotate, a circular coring blade would plunge through its center, removing the core. And finally, some models would have a third blade that simultaneously sliced the apple into a perfect spiral or uniform rings, ready for immediate use. All in a matter of seconds. It was a marvel of mechanical efficiency, saving countless hours for busy homemakers. The precision and speed it offered were unmatched by hand, ensuring that no apple went to waste and that all components for a pie or sauce were uniform. While simpler apple peelers still exist today, the all-in-one mechanical marvel has largely been replaced by modern kitchen gadgets, electric processors, or simply buying pre-sliced apples. This intricate device, however, stands as a testament to the ingenuity of American engineering, even in the humble kitchen. These tools built this country, and we let them fade. Hit subscribe so they are not forgotten, and tell me below if your family owned one.